So far, the Obama administration is refusing to explain, even to family members of those Americans massacred in Benghazi, what happened on the night of September 11th. There's only one committee getting answers before the election. And a member of that Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Congressman Jason Chaffetz, joins us from Salt Lake City, Utah. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Congressman, as every day goes by, we learn something new. And contrary to the administration's original spin of a video that was so outrageous that it caused the Middle East to go on fire, what can you tell us? What's your reaction?
Well, look, we have been slow-walked every step of the way. The White House, the State Department owes us more information. I sent my first letter on September 20th. That still has gone unanswered. But thank goodness there have been some brave whistleblowers who have provided us some unclassified documents that have really allowed this investigation to move forward. We know, because of testimony in a hearing that Chairman Issa had, and I applaud him for having that there is at least one 50-minute video that was in the possession of the State Department. We know that they were witnessing this in real time. And so for them to suddenly beg off and say, well, it was the genesis of this video, which we now know is not true, you know, some video in the Middle East that was generated here originally in the United States, we know that's not true. We know that there wasn't a mob outside in Benghazi. Then where did they get this information? How did they brief Ambassador Rice? I mean, there's so many more questions every day that goes by.
And, you know, Congressman, in the last 48 hours, we have heard reports from sources on the ground who were telling us that there were 3 directives to stand down, to not offer the help that the CIA was asking for on the ground. What can you tell us about what we've learned in the last few hours?
Well, I read that, I read those news accounts as well. And let's remember that this started at 9:40 p.m., their local Libyan time. At 4 a.m., there was another big wave that was at the annex, and it still took hours after that, so to the early dawn, in order to get people to the airport, where then 2 aircraft were able to evacuate people. So you have this hours and hours and hours of time, and it's just hard to believe that the White House, the president, didn't send people in to help extract and protect and save the lives of the people that were serving our country at our consulate and there at the annex. It's just unbelievable.
And, you know, Congressman, what is stunning is the fact that there is, no one else looking at this who's going to get information before the election, that every other blue ribbon commission and every other committee is going to be getting information to the American public after the election. Does that strike you as a kind of a pre-planned event in itself?
Well, what drives me crazy is that the president will go on those hard-hitting interviews, with Jon Stewart or on David Letterman, and he says, oh, well, as we get information, we just provide it to the American people. But Mr. President, we know there's a video. You should be producing and sharing that video with the members of Congress, but also with the American public.
And of course, you've asked for that video, and they have denied your request. And what we do know is that after Benghazi was attacked, we could see that the camera was still intact, and they have the actual video, in addition to the audio, in addition to the drones, in addition to the emails. I mean, doesn't that infuriate you?
It does, because we're just trying to get to the truth. We have hundreds of people serving overseas, hundreds of consulates and embassies overseas. We have thousands of Americans that are serving. We still have an embassy there in Tripoli. You have families, loved ones whose relatives have been killed. They haven't been given clear answers. We have injured personnel that are still, unidentified and really haven't been shared their information as to what happened and why. It's just the administration claims on one side that they're going to be so transparent, but then when it comes to actual transparency, they don't do it.
So then, Congressman, how are we going to get these answers?
We are pursuing this. We are trying to get answers as swiftly as possible, because that's who we are in this country. We're a little different than the rest of the world. We are about openness and transparency. And I think a big part of this story, by the way, goes back to June 6th, because that's when we had a terrorist attack in Benghazi, and the president did not react to that. As this story goes on, more and more will go back to June 6th.
And Congressman, very quickly, where does the ultimate responsibility for what happened to these Americans go?
It goes to the Oval Office. The President of the United States has to take personal responsibility. And we know that as soon as this started happening, there were relays of information there into the White House, to the State Department, to the intelligence agencies. The president did know what was going on. We had testimony that in real time, the State Department was able to witness this in real time.
Right.
My guess is the White House was as well, and the buck stops in the White House.
Well, we'll see what happens. Congressman Chaffetz, thanks so much. The American people are waiting for the information from your committee. And did the White House sit on its hands while terrorists were killing Americans on the ground? And later, how does this affect our CIA operatives going forward?